All right, congratulations to each and every one of you for taking the step to becoming a mayoral candidate for Tshwane. Now, let's start off by getting to know each and every one of you. Abel, why don't you tell us a bit about yourself and what makes you a mayoral candidate?
Greetings to the residents of Tshwane and South Africans in general. What makes Abel the perfect mayoral candidate for the city of Tshwane? I think before we even talk about what I bring to the table in terms of my abilities and the capacity that I have, I would want to say, look, Tshwane has been through 3 mayors from this current administration. A disaster after the other. We all saw in shock the other day as South Africans when the former mayor was being blacksamed along the way. As well as we know now that we do have a mayor that's absent in the city of Tshwane, nowhere to be found, and anything that you raise with the city gets responded to by the chief of staff, who basically is the mayor. And the unfortunate situation that we've had where there was a vacuum, where fortunately I got to be the guy who holds the fort and keeps Tshwane intact over the period that was. With that, I have been an MMC in the city, and I've been an acting mayor in a period where the city went through 2 episodes which were very difficult. One, we had a huge strike that basically the employees went through with us, and one had to make sure that he keeps the city going. And I think I did a fairly good job in making sure that we keep the city intact and resolve some of the biggest challenges, I think, in the past 5 years that we've had. But not only that, I have also then, faced one of the biggest floods that we've had. In fact, the unfortunate part was that we've breached the 100-year flood line, where people were flooded in Mamelodi, Hammanskraal, Ga-Rankuwa, and Tshwane was a mess. And to have somebody like myself being able to pull the city through when they needed a leader the most, I think that makes me more suitable. Obviously, I do think that I have the energy in terms of age. I think I'm the right age. You want a mayor who's pretty young enough to understand what needs to get the city going, but also mature enough to be able to make the decisions that are mature and needs to be taken, let alone my qualifications and qualities, both academically, but also, having lived in the city all my life. I mean, I was born and raised in the city of Tshwane. I've lived all my life. I'm a true son of the city, and there's no one better than taking the city through a period of renewal, regeneration, and finding itself and coming back to its feet. We sit with a city that currently is the unsafest city in the country. You sit with a capital that currently is the most expensive city to live in, that is bankrupt, and all of those challenges. So you really need a lion to lead this city. As they say, you better be too scared of an army of sheep led by a lion than an army of lions led by a sheep. And I think you need a lion to lead the city as we go forward.
Having said that, let's move to Ms. Mmaphefo. Why don't you tell us a bit about yourself and what's inspired you to take up this role as potential mayor candidate?
Okay, me, I'm Mmaphefo Shubane from Tshwane, city of Tshwane in Soshanguve. This telekela gore ne apply post ya bo mayor is because of I want to change my community there and there, the problem where they are facing. Last
but not least, Mr. Morris, why don't you share with us a bit about your background history and what makes you the ideal candidate?
Yeah, my name is Maurice Morena Mahlaule Glory. Let me just be honest and specific. I've been on the ground for so long, years and years, and we've been sending people into as a representatives into the city, and we've had so many people exchanging positions in the city, but failing to represent the needs and the needs of the community. So I've been highly on the ground. I've worked the ground, so I have that experience about what people need. We've had different kind of mayors from the mandate of the people, but all of them, they failed to represent the community. That is the most important thing. The other thing that makes me to wanna be a mayor of Tshwane, it is a very, very, very critical and essential thing, which is to unseat the ANC. That is my calling. That one, it is my calling. I'm not going to hide or hit the bush about it. And I just want to unseat the ANC. That is the basic thing. And then when I check the city again, I've realized that the city need a person of my caliber to shake things up and to make and fast track the needs and the cries of the community members, because we've been crying all along. So this is the opportunity. I've been praying that, God, I need an opportunity. So this is the opportunity to represent my communities in Tshwane. And I don't think that the ANC or any opposition party will be able to stand against the new mayor who's coming into Tshwane. Thank you.
Mmaphefo, what for you are some of the key issues that you want to tackle should you become elected as mayor?
Loko ni nga electiwa ku va meyara, ni nga endla swilo leswi ni swi vonaka like laha ni tshamaka kona. There's a problem where there's a nyoka, you know, it's nyoka. Yes, there's no water, even the road, there's no road. So, lava ku ri ni va pfuna ku ri va kota ku humelela, ni huma na lava va nga na swilo ku ri va kota ku va na swona. I once be there working as a community leader, so ni va pfunile laha ni va pfuneke kona.
For you, Abel, what issues do you want to tackle for Tshwane?
Leroy, as we all know, that Tshwane is second only to Washington, D.C. in the world in terms of international missions. That should tell you that when the world looks at Africa in general, they look at Tshwane. Therefore, you need to have a capital city that works. Now, it is unfortunate, like I mentioned, that it is currently the most unsafe city in South Africa as we speak. In fact, I think it's number 6 in the whole wide world. Now, it cannot be correct that Africa's most developed economy, its capital finds itself in this dire strait. So that's one thing we need to correct, not only for the citizens of Tshwane, but also for South Africans. You would know that the rising stars, Busiso Queenan of the movie Matwetwe, whom all of us had so much hope for, unfortunately died in the city of Tshwane, being robbed right in front of Sterland. What would shock you is that up to now, I do think that police cannot make headway because we don't have cameras in the city. I mean, that's the most basic. In 2021, you do have that. In 2016, when the DA came in, they promised, 3 metropolis per ward, and they said they'd up security in the city. We're living in one of the unsafest cities in the world. Now, that needs to change. It cannot be correct. When your capital city is unsafe, your citizens are unsafe. And I can tell you now, we cannot have a Tshwane that works if that doesn't happen. We've not had an intake of your metropolis force, which is contrary to what Herman Mashaba did in Johannesburg. In the 3.5 years that he has been the mayor, there was never, he has taken in over 1,500 metropolis. That hasn't happened with the city of Tshwane, even as we grow exponentially. But those are not only the problems. As we speak, Tshwane is said to be bankrupt. So you need a mayor who understands how he's going to make sure that he improves our liquidity position. I can tell you now, Tshwane sits with a situation where our asset register is not complete. Some of the assets are not on our books. So you need to, one, make sure that that accounting process gets underway, and you make sure that your assets become accounted for, and we are in a better liquidity position. And then once you do that, once you've got the cash flow that is there, then you can obviously be able to do quite a lot of things. I mean, the city now, with the current DA administration, has taken a decision to obviously impose, penalties or punishment to the poor of the city. As we speak, if you live in Tshwane and you are poor and you owe the city a little bit, you would find yourself in every 100 rand, they take 60% of any electricity recharge. Now, your poorest of the poor in townships are people that would find themselves in that space where they cannot do anything. When you have 100 rand, 60 rand goes into the pocket of the city, and only 40 rand. Now, there are better ways to be able to collect and make sure that the revenue outlook is much better, but also that the citizens are not put under pressure. You're indigent. I mean, we don't have a safety net for the indigent in our city. Your social package has diminished. When I was acting mayor and we said that we had a 5 billion rand, we had budgeted 5 million rand for a social package that would ensure that we board as many of our poorest of the poor onto the indigent program. That has gone throughout the window, and there's so much that needs to be fixed. But more than anything, in 2015, building up to 2016 local government elections, the residents of Hammanskraal were promised clean drinkable water. If there's any person who's ever done more to ameliorate the situation of people of Hammanskraal in terms of the water, is the man sitting in front of you. And I do think that at this stage, I'm the only person committed with the knowledge and the desire to change the situation for the people of Hammanskraal than anyone who's ever been there, and I could dare to say anyone who would ever come into the city. So therefore, I do know that I am in a position to change the lot of people of Hammanskraal. We can change the financial outlook of the city. We can stabilize the infrastructure that's dilapidating in the city, because we know where to start. But also we can close off and make sure that we've got an ethical leader that's willing to lead on behalf of the people and make sure that the citizens are actually at the center of all our development agendas.
For you, Morris, what issues have you identified that need to change?
All right, first of all, let me just go directly to the most residents concerned, which are undocumented foreigners. I'll make sure that I deal with this issue on my few days in office. I will make sure that I deal with this issue. I will lay it to rest. And number two, it is the crime, the high rate of crime in the city. I mean, we are no longer safe. Our kids are no longer safe. There's no one who's safe. Even our representatives are no longer safe. So that is a very, very serious battle that I need to lay it to rest to the resident of South Africa. And then another one, which is on my list as among the primarily objectives that I have, it is to reserve the job opportunities for our citizens. We are sitting with a very high rate of unemployment. So I'm gonna fight against this high rate of unemployment in the city and into the communities. Another one among the others, it is to make it a compulsory for the community at large to fast track the basic service deliveries, because that is the most important thing and important aspect that we need. That is a matter of urgent now as we speak. Basic service delivery in all our communities. So that one, I'm not compromising when it comes to those things. And another one which is very, very important again, it is to develop Tshwane into one of the world-class cities. We have big cities around. South Africa, we got our own freedom since 1994. But look at our capital city that represents us. It is the face of the people. It is our face. When they look at Tshwane, they see us. So we have to make sure that Tshwane must get back to the track, and we must get Tshwane to work. We have a traffic congestion even now today as we speak. There's nothing that the previous mayors done to Tshwane. There's no development, there's nothing they can talk, but there's nothing. So these are the aspects that I'm going to bring once I take office, not including the other one which are general, like developing the economy and investing into small businesses and etc. and other concerns that the communities are in need as we speak right now. Thank you.
Mmaphefo, if elected mayor, how are you planning to deal with the issues that you've spoken about?
Ningazama kulungisa land bulake kona hi mhaka ku ri I can invite all community va byela ku ri ni languta ku ri hi kwini la ku lungheke na la ku nga lunghanga. So after that we take it from there. I invite all the structures va ta ni pfuna ku ri hi lunghisa njhani hi endla yini. So hi teka kwala se hi lunghisa timhaka hinkwato leti hi ti kumeke, more especially ka ti-service delivery.
Morris, you've raised a number of points. How do you plan on tackling those issues?
Okay, on my first few days in office, I will make sure that I will have a program whereby it will be called a mayoral and community tour. On that program, I will be engaging with the communities, especially when we look at the service deliveries. And this program will continue engaging with the community, sharing ideas. Maybe, for instance, I will do that once in 6 months. That is what I'm gonna do. And then there won't be any middleman between myself and the community. So on that program, I will be able to implement, to work out the city from the ground. And then, for the fact that there won't be any middleman, so I will be able to engage with them directly. So I think that is the strategy that we need, because most of the leaders, they don't have that engagement, direct engagement with the community. So that is what we need. Going down there, I will be going down there, I will be working with them, and I will be hearing what their needs and etc. and address their issues. Then I will taking everything from the ground and take it to the council or to my executive. So that's where everything will be implemented and will be fast-tracked, because they are matters of urgent. So I will make sure that this is the strategy that I'm going to keep. So I think you answered. Thank you.
Abel, let's talk implementation. How are you going to achieve the turnaround that you require?
Look, one of Tshwane's biggest challenge at this stage, you would know that the city for the past 7 years hasn't had your ward committees. Now, that's a community-based structure that allows your councillors and your executive to obviously pick issues up at grassroots level. That bylaw has really been a ping-pong battle between the parties until now, which needs to be addressed, and it is actually a constitutional imperative in terms of your Structures Act. So you need to correct that. Now, once you have corrected that part, then in line with legislation, you then know that your IDP would then speak to the needs of the people on the ground. I think that our IDP process should truly be inclusive. I mean, it is unfortunate. I told you about the situation where council unilaterally has decided to punish poor residents by taking 60% of their electricity, or the electricity that they try and buy, to try and finance the elite in Pretoria East to make sure that there is street lights for them. So you need to change that. Amongst other things, you then need to find ways to ensure that your revenue collection is up. It's one of the poorest in Tshwane, and I do think that having grown up in the city, I know the attitude of the citizens of Tshwane. There's always been a working relationship where people would make arrangements to pay historic debt and make sure that they service current debt that they currently have, in order to make sure that you do have money to be able to deliver quality services. But not only that, I mean, your customer care centers need to improve drastically. You have a situation where people of Tshwane cannot call a call center and get a person to answer on that side and be able to report a service delivery failure and actually get feedback that what has been done. That needs to change. I mean, in 2021, why can't you have a callback service where you are going to dial a *120 whatever number and somebody actually calls you? That's what a city that cares, which is one of the pillars of the city, by the way. A city that cares should do that, should be able to engage its residents and make sure that they deliver on the services. But amongst some of the things that we stand for, obviously, I was in Hammanskraal not so long, dealing with an issue of illegal foreign nationals who have mushroomed and are terrorizing that part of the area. What is said is that the city is an enabler in this situation, in that, one, your building controls are not in place, bylaw enforcement doesn't happen, and therefore you find that there is a thriving environment for thriving lawlessness, which we need to nip in the bud. I mean, we cannot have a situation where this kind of lawlessness is left unattended. But these are some of the things that we need to do. But what do you do with that? You need to make sure that areas where those places, such as council-owned properties that have now been hijacked, are taken back to council, and those where people have left are expropriated for the benefit of the citizens of Tshwane. We need to make sure that we work with private sector to make sure that we bring in investment into the city, city and make sure that we create low-cost housing for people to be closer to opportunities. We did that not so long with an area called Tembelihle. We're doing that is currently happening with Marabastad being renewed. So you do want to see a situation where you are doing that. In the time that I've acted as a mayor, one of the things that I pride myself with is my ability to bring closer to the mainstream your informal traders, because they are the lifeblood of your economy in the city as well. And therefore, we need to make sure that we bring them up into a space where they are able to thrive. I think Nelson Mandela coins it nicely when he says there is no keener revelation of a society's soul than in the manner that they treat those who are vulnerable in society. I can tell you now, we need to be that kind of a city where we play to the life of the city. So those are some of the solutions that we have. Obviously, we definitely have to partner with so many people in the city to make sure that we realize that kind of a city. But it needs, one, a firm, strong leader at the helm who is not going to pass the buck and all the time say, this is what we have done collectively. I need to take charge as the mayor of the city to make sure that I lead from the front. I put together a team of men and women who are ethical, brave, and are going to make sure that they follow through and work with us to make sure that we turn the city around. We do have what it takes. I think the opportunity should be given to us to make sure that we do deliver a Tshwane that is world-class. Absolutely.
Mmaphefo, let's talk about the current condition of Tshwane, how it's being run. What are your thoughts?
Loko me ndi languta ni vona i nga ri fair hi ku ri swilo swa ku tala va yi tshembisa ku ri ni ri party leyi rulaka sweswi ni nge yi viti vito leyi rulaka sweswi i tshembisa vanhu swilo swa kahle, but loko ni languta na years ago swilo a swi fambi the way ni swi vonaka hi swona, the way va tshembiseke vanhu hi swona. Always they promise people nice things and good things, but at the end of the day a swi endlakali. So I think if they can give other platform, they can do more good and perfect.
Morris, what's your stance on the way that Tshwane is being run at this present moment?
Yes, Leroy, I've noticed that they have exercised their policies and nothing is getting the city to work so far. And we have to open our eyes enough, because most of the things that is happening in Tshwane, maybe they think we don't know or we don't see. But I've noticed that starting from the mayoral office and the coalition government, that is one of the things that we as ActionSA, we are not really looking for a coalition government. It is not our aim. We are aiming to take the city 100%. So I've realized that the coalition that the DA and the EFF has, it is not an ethical coalition at all. It has corruption within. It has a lot of mismanagement within. When we talk about financial issue, when we talk about service delivery, so lot of things that are happening, fresh, is happening currently in the Council of Tshwane. So I think that if we take over, as I'm going to take over, as it is, we have to look at the way things runs. The budget, provincial issue, regional issue, how is it facilitated from the authorities, the executive, and to the people down there? Because these people who are there, they are the people that have the coalition, the EFF and the DA. These are the people who are limiting resources from the ground. Now, the resources which has been declared to get the grant and the funding from these guys who are having the coalitions with, they are the people who distracted the process of service delivery to the community. I think that because of they are looking for their stomachs, so they are working to feed their stomachs. So that thing must change, because when you are in the council, you are there as a representative. You represent the people. You are not there as a breadwinner for your family. You are not there to wait for a month-end salary. That is not the work. So we need a new idea. We need a transformation in the council first, so that they could know, if it was possible, Leroy, we could at least maybe implement something like each and every representatives, they have to know about the values. Why are you there? Because if the executive is not ethical, I'm telling you, all the structures, they are going nowhere. There won't be anything that will be implemented which will benefit the community. We will always cry about the mismanagement, we'll always cry about corruption, we'll always cry about many things. So I think the executive and the mayoral, that's where we need to fix things there. The right people, as I am the right candidate, must enter there, make things, and lead by example, because we've been there on the ground, we know. So I think the city, the core of the city, and the facilitations of everything in the city, it starts from the mayoral. Once we have unstable governance on top, we are dead as a resident. So we are taking the city, Leroy. It is not a question, we are taking the city, and they will see by how we run the city, because we are based on, our blueprint are very solid and clear. So we are building upon something that has built us ethically. So we're gonna take the city, and they will learn, and they will learn, and they will learn to 2024. Thank you, Loro.
Abel, your thoughts on how the city has been run so far?
Look, from the mayor who failed the city and ran to try and lead a campaign to take the whole of the province, to the current mayor who's basically non-existent, and the city is on autopilot, as we can see. I do think that, look, it does not take a rocket scientist. We have just been downgraded by Moody's and every other, rating agencies. Tshwane is not a city that is worth investing in. As we speak, factories are closing every day in Ekandastria, in Hammanskraal, Pretoria West right now, even in Silverton. I mean, robots die in Tshwane, and they put up stop signs. I mean, you have a very big artery that goes between Easteres and the industrial site in Silverton, where right now those robots just went off, and they put up, stop signs. Potholes are everywhere. You don't have street lights in the city. So obviously it is completely mismanaged in every aspect of mismanagement. What you need is somebody, one, who is competent like myself, who knows exactly what needs to be done. I think I've highlighted areas that we need to start with. We need to stabilize our finances, make sure that we improve our liquidity position, make sure that you do then turn the city around in terms of a capable city or a capable administration. Employ people who are qualified, who are not partisan, not politicians, but actually officials who are there to service the residents of the city. I was just talking to the president to say, when we come in, the so-called government prices are not going to work in the city of Tshwane. I will definitely set up an office for buying, where you've got buyers. It happens in every company where you have people who are buyers. Why do you need a tender to go and buy pens and to buy boots and PPE or that kind of a thing, to buy water? Because that's where we're losing a lot of money, where a bottle of water that costs R3.50 at Macro, you buy in the city of Tshwane for 23 Rand, and that's utter nonsense. Not in my administration. What you will see, you will have an office with buyers who will collate what the city needs at any given time and be able to go out and source those at the source and make sure that we cut out the middleman. So those are some of the innovative ways that we are going to turn the city around when we get there, coupled to obviously what we need to do legislatively and making sure that we've got all the systems in place to make sure that we deliver. The city hasn't had a clean audit in the past 5 years. I can tell you now, obviously it's a mess. This audit period is going to be difficult, but you want to, in 23, 24, start getting a clean audit, start seeing the benefits of clean, ethical governance and good governance, and that's what's in store for the citizens of Tshwane. So obviously, I do think that, Leroy, the city is fortunate that there is an Abel who was born and raised in the city, knows what's wrong with the city, and therefore I would definitely urge, for now, anyone who has an opportunity to participate in our direct democracy, who are all the citizens of Tshwane, whether they are members or supporters of ActionSA, to, through these primaries, make the choice of choosing Abel Dau as the man who would go on and contest. I mean, we sit in a very, very nice situation where the current parties that are there in turmoil themselves, and therefore there is no better person, I think, at this stage to lead the city of Tshwane to recovery than the man sitting in front of you.
And on that note, candidates, I want to wish you the best of luck in the upcoming primaries. All the best.
Thank you.